Hello and welcome to the Roar-Makerz podcast.
The one-stop shop for everything courage, confidence, and mindset building.
Also bringing you all aspects of mental health awareness, business and entrepreneurship. We are your hosts,
Adam Ellis
and Jason Borman of the Roar-Makerz Coaching. Today we've got a very special guest, someone I've followed her journey through becoming a coach, and we've done our journey pretty much simultaneously alongside one another. She's been a great inspiration to me personally. I'm very excited to have her on the podcast today and to interview her one-on-one and obviously share with our listeners all the wisdom that I know she has, and I'm really excited to get going. So Katy is an internationally accredited life coach. She's also done some work in hypnotherapy with Marissa Peer. She's an NLP master. So lots and lots of training, she's very experienced. I've been coaching about 1.5 years now. So yeah, really excited to get Katy on. So let's bring her on. Hello, Katy.
Hello, guys. Hi, Jason. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
Hi.
So do you want to just kick it off with just telling us a little bit about yourself? So I've obviously touched on a few things there, but tell us, just give us the kind of lowdown as to how the last sort of who you are, basically.
Who I am. Who the hell am I, eh? Well, I'm sitting here in my bedroom upstairs in Chilliwack in BC, Canada. I'm English, but I've been living here for about 10 years now, and had a good working career for a long time, worked in corporate sales, traveled quite a lot, and then had 3 kids and moved to Canada, and then started a life here, so it was a complete different life from traveling all around Asia, Middle East, around Europe and stuff, to then being at home, being a full-time mum was amazing. I was there for my children. That was my choice. But after about 4 years, I found that I was craving doing something else as well. You know, as much as I love my kids, it was kind of almost like I'd forgotten who I was, what my real identity was, who I was as a person. And I was starting to crave that fulfillment a little bit. So I actually got to the point where when my youngest one, was about, or just after he was born, actually, that I kind of remember hitting a bit of a rock bottom and just being really in myself, like in my head, and really felt like, I need help now. I don't know if it was postnatal depression. It could have been. I never got diagnosed. I did go to a doctor and she offered to put me on antidepressants, and I didn't really want to do that. So I did reach out to a psychiatrist and paid a lot of money to go and speak to this lady who pretty much told me to pull myself together, which just made me feel even worse. Right? I can't comprehend it looking back now that I went there, and it was hard for me to go there and hard for me to go and talk about what was going on in my head and feeling like, what is wrong with me? I need help now. It got pretty bad for me to be able to be like, I need help, for then to just be like, well, you know what you need to do? You just need to go and make friends with other mums. Like, what's wrong with you? It was like, I know I needed to do that, but I was so lacking in confidence that I was struggling to even do that. Anyway, crazy. And then I went to see a counselor, and that kind of helped. But I found with that, we talked a lot about the past, you know, and then going over that, and that made me feel a little bit even worse about myself, to be honest. I wish I'd known about coaching then, I tell you. So then slowly but surely, I kind of built myself up a little bit because I had to get back into the working world and started volunteering in my kids' school. And then a job came up there and I went for that and got that, and then got offered another job too. So I slowly started building my confidence back up. And that really came from going to see a careers advisor that told me to just go back over all my past achievements and strengths and things like that. And I hadn't done that for a long time. In my headspace was all about what was wrong with me, you know, constantly. What did I do this wrong? Overthinking everything. And I hadn't stopped for a long time to think, well, what was good about me? What am I good at? And that exercise in itself was like a bit of a mindset shift. and then going back through all my old CVs and resumes and brag file and stuff. So that kind of helped. And then being in the working world again, I started to get excited, and then I ended up choosing a career and went back to school, to college, to be a special education teacher's assistant, because it was convenient to work in the school when my kids were, and they're 6 hours a day where they're in school, and so it was more convenient, but back in the working world. And I started working with these kids, and I really enjoyed like helping people, but these little people I felt needed even more. And also, not everyone, but there were a few that within the workspace that were quite negative, moaning about the job, moaning about the kids they're working with, and my head was screaming like, why are you doing what you're doing if you're just moaning about it? These kids will know if you're moaning about them, not to them, but they'll feel that. They're very intuitive, right? Like, so that, because that was kind of hurting my soul, hearing that on a daily basis. And then I'm gabbling on a bit, and then early last year when COVID kind of hit, didn't it? So then the kids were being homeschooled, and my mum came to visit, but then that's when things started to get a bit weird, like toilet roll was being flying off the shelves and stuff like that. So they then got a little bit panicked and felt like they should go home, my mum and my stepdad. So they went home early. So I was a little bit disappointed about that. But very shortly after they got home, 3 days later, the telephone rang at home, and it was my mum telling me that my brother had passed away. So in that moment, this very raw emotion, it was almost like a hand coming up and crushing my heart. And I just remember letting out this like this almighty, like, no, harrowing kind of sound, because I always felt like I could help him somewhere, somehow. But I felt guilty that I was in Canada too, and he was there in England, in Cambridge. But we were planning on going back for 6 weeks in the summer. So that kind of despair, but I was like, no, this can't be it. This can't anyway. So around that same-ish kind of time, I was kind of, my guilty pleasure a little bit was just at the end of the night just going onto YouTube and watching old like reality TV or whatever. And so I watched Big Brother and Love Island, stuff like that, and just kind of like mind-numbing stuff. But that's where I saw Johnny Mitchell, and I remember there was a few times within the Big Brother house that he kind of stood up for what he believed in, and stood to his ground, and he seemed very authentic and real. So I then just started following him and a couple of other people from there and Love Island on social media. And then that's when I learned about the coaching masters. So I kind of was intrigued by these guys for a bit, and they shared their stories, certain things that they've been through, and I'd been through something very hard too, but yet they were coming out the other side. So I was like, what is this coaching thing? So kind of got a little bit more information about it and reached out to them a little bit, and then actually got coached by one of them, and even that in itself made a huge difference. So then I started doing all like the initial kind of modules you can learn about the basics of coaching and stuff, and it really helped me. So in a time of grief, I was putting my energy into something else, and I was like, well, if I couldn't help my brother, I can use this to help other people if it's helping me, because it helped my confidence grow. And anyway, and then we then went on this kind of journey together, didn't we? We did the coaching accreditation and NLP, and we had a lot of late night NLP practice sessions, because I'm 8 hours behind you guys. So Jason, you'd be up at midnight and we'd be practicing, and it kind of it blew my mind. And if it could get me out of bad grief, but moving that from despair to, I can help people, it's helping me, this is amazing. And then also with my confidence, switching that around, that was huge for me, huge, like life-changing. So that a year and a half later, I'm here. I've quit my day job and I'm focusing on the coaching full time. So as much as I loved working with the kids, it was getting to the point where I was going to work and then coming home and going on calls with coaching clients, and my kids were always asking why I was working so much. And so it became a bit too much to do both. So I made the decision to do this full time because I love it so much. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Amazing. Right. As I said, I've followed Katy's journey for like since kind of she started coaching with me. We were at the Coaching Masters, which is an organization that teaches you how to become a coach, and not just any coach, a very powerful coach. And it's changed many people's lives, and we're proud to say that we're part of that organization, and we've done like majority of their courses between us all.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyone thinking about becoming a coach, like that is the place to go for sure.
I mean, it was worth it, just that training to figure out my own mindset. I think with the postnatal depression, if it was that, I was in quite a negative headspace. And you know what hurts me the most is I look back at photos and my amazing kids, 3 kids, and the puppy that we had and stuff like that. And then it hurts, makes me sad a little bit because I was locked in my own head. And we kept moving house to trying to change the situation. Well, it wouldn't change until I sorted my head out. That's the most important thing, right? It doesn't matter how many you move your job, you move house. If you don't figure your head out, and I didn't know how to, we're not taught that stuff at school. I even went to a psychiatrist to tell me to pull myself together. Like, are you freaking kidding me? We need to know how. It doesn't have to be like that. And I never knew that. So I wish I'd known about this such a long time ago, like life coaching, like how that you can change your mindset, that you can change the way you think, that you can change your thoughts, your feelings. Like I just thought that the way you thought was the way it was, you know?
So touching on from that, you might say a similar sort of thing, but I want to kind of ask this question to you. So what you've got three boys.
Yep.
So they're 11, 7 and 4, is it? Or
Well, they've grown a bit since then. They're now 6, 10 and 12.
wow. Okay, so yeah. So she's got 3 boys. What would you hope for them for the future in terms of their mindset, and what are you going to be kind of installing in them that you didn't have when you were 12?
Well, I think I was looking back to my childhood. I was a pretty strong character. Nothing fazed me at all. My mum and dad split up when I was young, when I was 5, and I had this stepdad that I didn't really like, but it made me stronger. I feel it wasn't until I think that I had children, the third one especially, that I developed like this kind of like nervous disposition and worried about things. And then I didn't expect that for that time of life. You know, when your kids are at school and then meeting other mums in the playground, I didn't expect to feel insecure or lacking confidence. That anyway, so but leading up until that I was fine. But for my kids especially, I think for them to grow up with with self-esteem is going to be the most important thing. For them I want them to feel like they can do whatever makes them happy. So I'm not going to try and push them into a certain college or a certain career. I'll really help them find their purpose or find what really, interests them, and encourage them in that way, and try and encourage them to do what they want. But I am somewhat worried though, because of the whole video game culture, and their kids, their friends, all they want to do is play video games. And so we try and limit that, and we try and do outside stuff. Luckily where we live, there's lots of fishing and kayaking and outside activities, and camping we do a lot of.
And by contribution, you mean like, or by like purpose, you mean like through contribution. So it's not always what they enjoy. It's more like what they see themselves kind of, working for, as in
just finding their passion, not necessarily working for a job for money, because I know what that gets to. When you get later on in life, it feels like a job, right? Whereas if you're doing something you love, then it doesn't so much feel like work. But I know they've got to build themselves up, but I will somehow, when they get a bit older, try and, because my husband being an electrician is kind of inclined to be like, well, you can go down that route and stuff. Well, I'm not going to push my kids. I will try and help them find what they want to do and try different things, and encourage them to follow to try different things and then to do what they really enjoy, not just a job for the sake of the money, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But a high level of self-esteem, I think, is I want them to be sure of themselves. I want them to be confident in their body and in their mind, and not to get drawn in by a bad crowd, or to have the courage to speak up for themselves and to find their way in life and not be dragged into something maybe by others. So they're quite young at the moment, but you know, my 12-year-old will be 13 soon, then we're going to get in those teenage years, so that will be the next challenge. So I mean, it's interesting, like, you know, I talk a lot about coaching and stuff like that, so you kind of wonder, they don't like let me coach them because I'm their mum. But the other day, like I was saying to my son, couldn't do something. I can't do it. I can't do it. He's like, oh yeah, I mustn't say that. I can do it. I can do it. And he tried again and he did it. So even little things like that, I think they're becoming a bit,
right, you know,
yeah,
I can't do it yet.
yeah. I think they're just becoming aware of the language they use.
Yeah, it prompts the kind of, you know, keeping at it, you know, and
Yeah.
sticking at it until you achieve it. So I don't know if you've got any questions you want to ask Katy.
I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. That's very powerful and inspirational for our listeners and viewers in there. But touching on that, what advice would you give our listeners and viewers?
With regards to what? Just
mindset and courage and just doing what they want to do.
so with the mindset is, it's so important, like the language you use and what you tell yourself. And I think that if there's something that you want to do or something that you want, don't be afraid to find the courage to do it. Because lots of the time we can be stuck in a certain job or a certain life or a certain relationship going a certain way. And we can focus a lot on what's wrong, like what's wrong in a relationship, what's wrong with our partner, what's wrong with our kids, what's wrong with our life, what's wrong with our body, oh, this job sucks, da, 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 da. Well, like, you can make a change, or you can choose to focus on what's good, what's right. So yeah, this whole negative thinking thing, like, I would, just with regards to mindset, become aware of your thoughts. What are your thoughts telling you? Are your thoughts being negative? Are your thoughts telling you that, oh, you're looking pretty ugly today, I mean, or you look fat in that, or you can't do that, or you're crap at that? Like, just become aware of, and I, you know, what's really funny is I asked one of my clients the other day, when you hear that voice in your head, she's like, I don't hear a voice in my head. And it's like, well, when you think, don't you hear a voice? And she's like, no, I don't hear a voice. So some people don't, but when you think, you know, if I stop and I'm thinking about stuff, it is my voice. But just become aware of it and listen to those thoughts. And if they're negative, you just got to like stop for a minute and change it to something else. Like, I never realized I could do that before. So I now question my thoughts, and I don't always believe my thoughts. Now, if this thought comes in, oh, you can't do that, that's not going to be very good, I choose to not believe it and change it. And then that's where affirmations can come in. Like, I can do this. I am powerful. I am strong. I'm strong. Even if you don't quite believe it at the moment, but just by changing that language can sink in.
Because it's a million-year-old brain, right? And it's geared towards keeping us safe. Like, so
Yes.
you believe it all the time. That could be,
Yeah.
could be kind of keeping you from danger, or anything it perceives as danger or a threat, or you know, out of the comfort zone, or out of, it's all kind of one and the same, and it can give us false information, you know.
Well, yeah, because we have this natural instinct. It's part of who we are as humans. All those years ago, we were like cavemen, cavewomen, and we had to be prepared to fight or flight. We've still got that kind of basic instinct that, you know, that happens with us, that chemical release. But that fear, a lot of people can treat that as, oh, something's wrong, I shouldn't be doing this fear of doing whatever it is they want to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's something you should be afraid of. It's just, you just got to feel it and accept it because it's part of who we are as people. But there's a difference between like two types of people. Some people might see that fear, that feeling, and feel it is okay, time to retreat, time to stop, we're not going to do it. Other people will see that as a signal for go, that there's a chance for personal growth or something exciting to happen. And they'll just feel it because it's a part of who we are, but they'll just do it anyway. And as soon as you do it, that fear then goes. And then you start to grow. So like talking about the zone of comfort, like, for example, with my business, yeah, it was hard to think about leaving my job and what if it doesn't work? What if I don't make enough money? What if it fails? What if it doesn't work? What if people ridicule me? What if I can't help people? What if, right? But if I'd let that worry stop me, I wouldn't have done it. But I've just expanded my comfort zone slowly, like in terms of like reaching out to people, like slowly starting conversations and speaking to people and reaching out and putting myself on social media. I wasn't careful with that, but just starting off gradually. And as you move, and even like going live or doing a podcast or a Facebook live, I would have like felt like I was going to die doing that. But that fear is not irrational. I didn't die, and it's okay. And then once you do it, it becomes easier. So it's taking those steps bit by bit.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting you say that, actually, because it's sort of like I struggle with like telling people about their intuition, stuff like that. Although I love it, and I'm all for the kind of mystic archetype and, you know, following that intuition, that inner guidance.
Yeah.
When it's switched on the kind of negative side and stopping you doing stuff. You know?
Well, obviously your intuition is a big thing, and my intuition has got me out of some tricky situations in the past, right? But this is not the kind of fear that comes of you're going to be doing something dangerous. I'm not talking about anything dangerous or life-threatening, but if it is with regards to making a change, when that fear comes, just sit with it a minute and feel it. But just know that that doesn't always mean that you're going to have to fight or flight or freeze. Sometimes you just got to feel it and then go, wow, if I push through this, then that's when something really exciting can happen. That's when I can grow as a person. And
it's that little mindset shift, isn't it? It's kind of like, what could go right? What could happen for me as a result of taking this action?
Because as human beings, we automatically think about what could go wrong. You know, there's that saying I love that's like, oh, what if I fall? But it's like, oh, my darling, what if you fly? Like, it's human nature. We always think of the negative first. Just like if you're on the motorway and there's an accident on the other side, you still slow down and look. Like, we're drawn to negative.
I feel like that's a result of our kind of upbringing as well, because your parents as kids always said, oh, don't touch that because it's hot. Don't be careful on there. Stop doing that. You know, it's got us wired to kind of think, oh, if I do that, is it going to hurt? Is it not going to? Yeah.
And what's behind that is not that the child or whatever is doing something scary. It's to do with the parents' own fears, and underlying their fear is a thing of, I can't handle it. So I can't handle it if you fall and hurt yourself. I can't handle it if you go in the road and be hit by a car. So we're projecting our fears onto so the kids grow up in this world thinking it's fearful. And I've done that to I've done this to my eldest son. Like, he's scared of wasps and bees. When they come near him, he's like, well, he's learned that. That's a learned behavior for me, because I freak out when a bee comes near me. So I've been very careful not to do that with my youngest one. And he would pick up a bee. If it lands on him, he wouldn't care, you know, because kids learn from, I wish I could even go back and change some of the things I've done, you know, as a parent. But just so much learned behavior.
You don't realize, do you, like all the stuff that you kind of, that's not to say that you're not supposed to keep your child from harm. Of course you are, like, but you know, these sort of what if, you know,
like automatically when they leave the house, I'll say to my kids, be careful. But why aren't we saying, you know, go out there and take a risk, go out there and make a new friend, go out there and enjoy your day? We're like, be careful.
It's kind of like, but that's the programming, isn't it? That's the kind of, so that's where it comes from. And you've got your podcast out, haven't you, Katy? So tell us a little bit about that.
That's a podcast that I started a couple of weeks ago, called A Cup of Tea with Katy, which it's just because I'm English. And anyway, it's supposed to just be like an informal podcast when I sit down with women and just chat. And it's really mainly focused on, you know, working women, women in business, and just so they share their stories about where they were and how they got to where they are and what they're doing, and how they overcome any obstacles and barriers on the way, and what their idea of success is, and what their vision is for the future, and also how and if they kind of maintain a work-life balance. And so it's really the story of entrepreneurship, and how as women and mums, wives and stuff, how we do all that. And it's quite interesting, actually, the ones that I've done so far.
Yeah, amazing. Any final questions from you, Adam?
So where can people contact you? Where can they find you if they want to get in touch?
So Instagram or Facebook. So my name is a bit of a long one because I married a Greek man, but it's just at Katy sgouraditis. So it's Katy, and then sgouraditis is sgouraditis. So that's at Katy sgouraditis.
We're gonna include this in our kind of YouTube kind of description, and we're gonna give you some links to Katy's stuff, so you can go and check out Katy and all the stuff she's doing and the wonderful things that she's giving her audience and her clients. And yeah, if you're interested in listening to Katy's podcast, I'm sure she's on Spotify and she's on other platforms and stuff, so we'll pop them in the description as well.
Thanks, dude.
No worries. And this is about kind of mutual. We're just so grateful you came on today and like shared like your story, and hopefully our listeners got some really good value bombs and stuff in there about mindset, courage, confidence.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's been good to talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of value from that. I don't know about the listeners, but I did.
That's what I mean. Like Katy's like quite inspirational. So well done to you and your journey.
Well, if it, you know, just to remember where I was a few years ago, so stuck in my own head, so lacking in confidence. If I can now be running my own coaching business and helping other people, and it's like mind-blowing to if someone had told me like 4 years ago, oh, don't worry, you'll be okay, you'll be helping other people soon, you'll have your own podcast and you'll be doing masterclasses, I'd be like, yeah, right. When I was in that state of not knowing I could do anything. So this mindset stuff works. So yeah, everyone, keep listening to Jason and Adam, because this stuff is life-changing.
Thank you. And remember,
Let's draw on that courage.
build up that confidence and get back your roar.
Get back your roar.
Thank you guys. Take care.